I'm involved with a recovery community in my own university, so it's nothing to do with, you know, any particular form of mutual aid or anything like that. But it's I'm involved in a group for staff of the university who identify with that idea of recovery, and we just get together and talk about, you know, I mean, some people are still use, you know, alcohol or other substances, but they want to engage with that kind of talk about the challenges of having vulnerabilities in that area and working in a very high pressure environment of a university. And it's a community based thing that just enables us to kind of keep going and function.
There is another element to that particular project you're doing about recovery friendly universities as well, though, isn't it? It's about recognizing that people who one of those journeys that many people who are in recovery go on to do is to revisit education or education for the first time as part of just employment and acquiring new skills in life and stuff. And so part of the project you do is also about trying to get universities to realize that actually there's a kind of duty to think about the space for those students and not just the ones that are out in the clubs on a Friday and Saturday night doing what maybe lots of young people might do as a normal rite of passage, as is described in a lot of literature. But actually those who are coming to university having that bit already gone Pete-tong for them, gone wrong, and now coming back, you know. So there's some of that in what you're doing as well, isn't there?
Yeah, so I think it's effectively the next frontier of widening participation.
Okay, at universities,
Yeah. So I guess I want universities to recognise the asset that people in recovery are. So people in recovery suffer with the same stigma that people who are in active addiction suffer with. So, you know, there's this assumption that if you've got that vulnerability in your past, then you know you're always going to go back to it. You're always going to be a bit of a defective one, or whatever. And you know, kind of trying to say, look, if you enable people to flourish, and education, you know, I firmly believe that education is a right. Maybe that's an old-fashioned idea, but you know, if you enable people to flourish and education is part of that, then you are creating the conditions in which their recovery has a much better chance of sticking and developing. And people in recovery are, you know, just like people who live with other mental health conditions, they bring a set of life experience and actually strengths to a diverse university community. So we shouldn't be thinking about, you know, not letting them in, which is one view, or even kind of pitying them and thinking they need loads and loads of support. What we should be doing is welcoming them in and giving them a voice as part of a diverse university community, you know, allowing them to bring their unique strengths to the community, and that's the way that we'll tackle stigma in wider society as well, because you can't tackle stigma anywhere else but within institutions. So, you know, you've got to have institutions come out and say this stigma is unacceptable, and we're going to stand against it, formally, collectively. So I mean, Chester, as my university, has recently signed the Recovery Friendly University Pledge, and I think that's you know, whatever journey we need to go on to embed that, the the fact that they've done it is
Yeah.
is a great stand, a symbolic stand
Sure.
against stigma.
And we could
Um,
say stuff about why my university has not yet, despite wanting to claim that it's a trauma-informed university. But hey ho, there's a whole nother story in
yeah,
that,
but I mean,
Jess.
I think a lot of universities, they're on journeys with this,
Yeah, yeah.
and there's an awful lot of good work that is
No, yeah,
going
sure.
on all over the place that is not shouted about. And the reason that it's not shouted about is because of stigma. So universities so concerned about their kind of public facing image, and what that might say. Um, so it doesn't mean that
Sure.
they're not
And we get that
supportive.
everywhere, don't we? Once it comes to drug and
Yeah,
alcohol, we get that everywhere. Trying to, I'm working in a project at the moment looking at a particular area of the country that's got one of the higher rates of, drug deaths. And for 2 years, we just had councils who seemed to think that there was more stigma attached to publicly being seen to do something about the issue than not. And it took two
yeah,
years to just persuade them that actually it probably looked better for them if they were appeared to do something about it rather than not.
yeah,
But they just
yeah,
didn't want, the headline. And I suppose you're talking about exactly the same thing, which is just
yeah,
the name of the local authority or the name of the university or the name of the employer or the name of the institution with the word alcohol or drug sitting next to it,
yeah,
I guess, is what they're
yeah,
trying to avoid, isn't it, in a way?
yeah, yeah. But I mean, you think about how things have changed in relation to sexual harassment or sexual violence.
Yes, of course.
There's much more, there's still a very, very long way to go, but there
Yeah.
is now at least universities are saying, okay, we can't pretend that this isn't
Mm,
happening on our campus any longer, and actually it might be better for us if we acknowledge it,
mm,
then we can um we can tackle the culture. If it remains
mm,
hidden, then and I think it's a similar there's a similar change beginning to happen in relation to this.